to welcome you back to Knicks Daily, baby. Let's go. Let's go. I am your host, Shia. I am the owner of Knicks Daily. I am the proprietor of Knicks Daily. And here in Knicks Daily, everybody eats. Everybody eats. Okay? And what we serving up a little bit special today here in Knicks Daily, we're serving up barbecue chicken. God damn it, barbecue chicken is on the menu. If anybody doesn't know the reference, when I say barbecue chicken, that is the new tagline. That is the new nickname that they had given to RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Scotty Barnes. So Scotty Barnes with a B, Barrett with a B, IQQ, barbecue. That is the new acronym Toronto has given those three players, their core players in Toronto. So we are serving barbecue chicken. Okay, and you already know here at Knicks Deli, when we have specials on the menu, everybody eats. Okay, and the New York Knicks ate last night. All right, we feasted last night on barbecue chicken, and that was a beautiful thing to see. So we're going to get into it. It was a good game on many fronts. So this had this playoff buzz in the building. It had a playoff vibe. Everybody was excited. There was the build-up. There were the pregame interviews. There was the anticipation, you know, will the fans embrace these young men as they come back? Will they have big games? Will the New York Knicks allow for these two to kind of shine on the court and also off the court? Will they give them their just due? Will they have videos for them? Will they do anything special in the PA announcement? You know, what is the vibe going to be like? And as usual, the New York fan base, the New York market, and Madison Square Garden did not disappoint. We didn't disappoint. So you could find entertainment and value if you tune in before the game in pregame interviews. And it was, you know, pretty much telling to a lot of the questions that the fan base had and that the media began drumming up, you know, with RJ. You know, RJ really didn't send out a special note like IQ did to the fans. You know, you really didn't hear much from RJ. RJ is usually, you know, even keeled. Never gets too high, never gets too low, never really lets you in on what his thought process is. But in the interview, prior to, when it was more New York reporters, and they were asking him specifically, do you intend to send a message to the fan base or, you know, put a message that kind of gives you a little bit close, get a little bit of a closure? He did something rare by letting people in. And he said, you know, or they asked him, how do you hope to be received? Do you hope to get a standing ovation when you go back to New York from the fans? And he said, I hope so. You know, and at that point, he started speaking more direct to the fans. He was just like, you know, really enjoyed everything about my time in New York. You know, the fans embraced that. That's the most favorite part of my experience in New York with the fans. And, I hope, you know, to get an ovation when I go back. So it's almost like as the time drew near, and he said he had this date circled on his calendar, as all former players do, you know, but for him, he said he wanted to wait until after this game in order to do that. And on the other side, IQ. And I know that RJ may have felt a little bit of pressure because IQ, you know, had his letter in The Athletic to the fans specifically. And it was an extensive letter, but it really kind of helped the fans have some insight into this emotional journey that he had to navigate in a short period of time. And that's something that I think endeared IQ, as usual, to the fan base as well. So you had RJ kind of trying to pick and choose his spot to do so because IQ released his. And I don't know if that's the thought process, but you could assume. But just watching them back in the Garden last night, getting the love from the fans, the fact that, you know, all eyes were on the Garden. The stars were out, which is a beautiful thing. They had Mick Jagger, you know, there, and they said Mick Jagger doesn't often kind of come out to Madison. Actually, they said he never been to Madison Square Garden to the Knicks game. So the New York Knicks are now at that point again where it's not even a nationally televised game, but you have stars of that magnitude coming out to watch the Knicks play again. The Knicks are beyond relevant again, you know, and the hoopla was there. It had a playoff atmosphere, playoff buzz. So many stories are going to be able to come out of this game alone, and it wasn't a nationally televised game, you know? So super excited to see, or was it? I don't know, maybe because I watched it on MSG. You correct me if I'm wrong if it was nationally televised, but I just clearly looked at it on MSG. But it didn't disappoint. It didn't disappoint in its hoopla. It didn't disappoint in its coverage, in the emotion, in what the New York Knicks organization did. Everything was class all the way around. It was class from the players, RJ and IQ, and seeing them kind of go back up to Tibbs, show love. You know, it's almost like you look at that narrative, it's almost like a father and a son, and the sons moved out. They had to move out of the house and because the dad kicked them out, you know, but they appreciate everything that the dad did and showed them that respect, you know. All you ask for is the respect on both sides. The respect from a father to the son and from the son to the father, you know? And that's kind of what we saw last night. Also, just the connection with the players, between the players. While the players are here, you never know what you have. You know, and that narrative was there, and they can deny it, but there were moments where brothers fight, you know, and the younger brother always wants to push to try to be better than the big brother, and the big brother wants to keep the younger brother where they are. All of that was there. But something that can't be questioned is the respect and the love that Julius has with all of those players, that the teammates had the special handshakes, and even between Jalen Brunson and RJ, you know, it was more like a dap of respect. And you expect that. You know, it was appreciation and respect, and the hugs were extensive, but there was an energy there that was, from my perspective, it said from RJ, you know, I appreciate you, I respect you, and I see what you're doing, but I got my own team now, you know, and you're going to see me more times than not. We just got to get ourselves together. And I love that. And I'm looking forward to that in years to come. But it was outstanding to the point that I am a Niners fan, baby. Let's go. Niner gang, bang, bang, Niner gang all day. We pulled it out. You could say, oh, listen, we struggled, Brock Purdy, all of that. But that's what legends are made of, okay? And we're one step closer, all right? And it wasn't a major hit to our wide receiver. You know, Debo. I'm sorry, it wasn't a major hit to Debo. I know he got a little banged up, but they're saying he'll be back for the next game, okay? So shout out to our 49ers. But I say all that to say I couldn't even put eyes on that game because I couldn't take my eyes off of this one. So I'm excited about this opportunity to really dive into this game, man. Knicks fans, you showed up, you showed out, you did exactly what you needed to do. I'm super proud of our fan base, everybody, all the division on Twitter. You know, that's only for us and content creators, but we did exactly what we were supposed to do. We stood up, we showed the proper respect and veneration for our former players, but we also showed the appropriate and proper support of the current players. And to see all the players that were traded for each other in the trade, still dap each other up and all of that, just love to see, man. You couldn't have written a better story. And we're gonna do our best to show us some justice by covering it. So the most important piece that we wanted to see is a victory, okay? The one thing you don't want to do is to have that type of hoopla, knowing that the players who got traded were super motivated to come back and make a statement. Every player who is traded away, as Clyde pointed out, when you return, you want to make a note. You want to send a message to the team that traded you that they made a mistake, okay? And we knew that these two players, with their level of competitiveness, would come back with that message in mind. But also what we know is that we're not a house right now that's built on a paper foundation. We're not. We used to be. That first year with Tibbs got here and that team, we were a house that was built on paper foundation. And then when we ran up against a team such as Atlanta, you know, the house got rocked and it fell. Our foundation isn't paper anymore. So those narratives where we used to be concerned about the player coming back and having a big night and throwing us off, that don't happen no more. That don't happen when you got quality players. That don't happen when you have high-level players, when you have superstars on your team. You got a superstar and you got an emergent superstar on your team. Superstar being Jalen Brunson and emerging superstar being Julius Randle. That doesn't happen so often when you actually have strong talent to push that back. Okay, and this is what was exhibited last night. So let's get into it. If you're here for the first time, I apologize for the 10-minute monologue, okay? But I had to kind of set the stage for what we're going to be doing while we're serving up barbecue chicken today here at Knicks Deli, okay? If you're here for the first time and you don't know what Knicks Deli is, let me explain to you. There's only 4 items on the menu, okay? First item on the menu is the bacon, egg, and cheese, all right? Now, the bacon, egg, and cheese is the best sandwich in New York, and that thing be busted. So we're going to look at who were the 3 components, like the bacon, the egg, and cheese? Who were the 3 players of this game that together really made this the best possibility to get this win tonight, in this battle of New York versus Toronto? And then next on the menu is the dollar slice. Now, everybody knows that New York has the best pizza in the world. I said in the world, okay? And here at Knicks Deli, the pizza, the dollar slice, represents stability. So who was the player that stood out, that had the stabilizing factor in terms of their contribution to help us secure this win? So we're going to look at that as well. Next on the menu is what we call the chopped cheese. The chopped cheese is relatively new to that New York menu, but that thing be busting. So we're going to talk about who's the chopped cheese, who had a contribution that was relatively new or a little bit surprising, that really helped us get over the top to secure this victory. And last on the menu, you gotta have something to wash that thing down with. You can't have the bacon, egg, and cheese. You can't have the chopped cheese. You can't have the dollar slice if you ain't got nothing to wash that thing down with. And here in Knicks Deli, it is the quarter water, okay? And the quarter water is who is that player that really kind of came in and gave us that burst? Who gave us that spurt, whether it's in one quarter or a little bit throughout each of the quarters, to help us wrap up this victory, wrap up them Raptors, and send them back north of the border. So we're gonna look at that as well. And there's one more item on the menu. I said that was the last, but there's one more. And it was recently added this season, and we call it the glizzy of the game. That's right, the hot dog, the dirty water dog. Who gets the glizzy of the game? Hey, yo, okay? And the glizzy of the game goes to who? Whether it's somebody connected to this game, or somebody in the media, anybody, it could be anybody, that either says something sideways out of their mouth, or they're just talking too much. You gotta find a way to make them be quiet. And what better way to make somebody be quiet than to give them a dirty dog? So we're gonna figure out who gets the glizzy of the game, okay? And lastly, we have the nah, son, nah, you wildin' moment of the game. You wildin'. And this goes to somebody who either says something to make you look at the camera sideways and be like, nah, son, nah, you wow, okay? And then we're gonna wrap this thing up with the parting thoughts. That took a little bit longer than I expected. I'm gonna try to keep this shorter, so let's dive right in. Who is the bacon of the game? Who gets the bacon of the bacon, egg, and cheese today here at Knicks Deli? And I'm gonna say, we're gonna give the bacon to our triple-double star. Okay, we're going to get a bacon of the game to Julius Randle. Round of applause for our guy, Julius Randle. Julius Randle had 18 points last night, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. He was almost close to a quadruple double in 2 ways. I believe, I got to check this out. It looked like he had 7 turnovers. So I want to look into that. Somebody else said 7 blocks. I was just like, this man did not have 7 blocks. I think he had close to 7 turnovers. So in a negative type of way, it would have been a quadruple double. But the man had a triple double. Julius Randle is undeniable in his ascension as a star in this league. And the New York Knicks fan base needs to recognize that before anybody else does. It's almost like we are waiting for everybody else to point at him and say, you are accepted into this club. We need to do that first and force them to do it. Julius Randle is an all-star. Julius Randle is an all-NBA player. And he is showing you night in and night out that he is. 9 times out of 10, probably as the second best player on our team, he is like the best player on the floor against many other teams in this NBA, okay? But Julius Randle showed out last night, and he had 18 points, 16 rebounds, and 10 assists, monster numbers in his triple-double. In the first half, the man had 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. That was in the first half of Randle, okay? Once again, he had a triple-double, 7 turnovers, made this triple-double output one of the most frustrating to watch because you could see that he was dominating and that he was doing the little things. But with all of those turnovers, it was the most uncomfortable watch because there was points where I was just, you know, points of frustration, whether he's trying to force a fancy pass or there was a period in the game where him and RJ were kind of going back and forth together. He was just talking too much. Like, bro, finish the game. Talk after the game. Why are you trying to have this little, like you're that, I don't know, you're not that good on that point where you can talk in the game and let your performance be so outstanding that it kind of, I don't know. He was just doing too much in that respect. Lock in on the game, finish the game. You know, you're playing against an NBA team with NBA players. Anybody can beat anybody. 20-point leads are not safe and can dwindle, you know, within the last 5 minutes of the game. If you know New York history, then you know this is true. And that was the only problem that I had. And I was just like, you know, the man got a triple-double. He has been a problem. He's been beasting all season. And it'd be these type of moments that make you say, come on, Red, just finish so that we can speak without as much critique as possible. But that was the only piece that I think that stood out that I was just like, yo, listen, come on, man. Like, bro, just stop trying to be a super duper star. You know, I know, listen, The Last Dance messed up everybody. A lot of these players in the league because they try to emulate what they see in that video and hear about the stories Michael Jordan, you know, the lore of Michael Jordan during his, you know, tenure. But Julius Randle really had a great game last night. I was happy for it. Scotty Barnes is a player that, you know, like 2 seasons ago, you know, he was elevated as that next power forward that's going to be coming up, power forward / center. You know, so every time there's these matchups, you know, Julius continues to show that he is really unguardable against a lot of teams. So I was just happy for that as well. One thing I will say is you know, it's showing a couple of points. Julius has a very, very well-rounded game. You know, for a power forward and a big, he has a unique skill set where he's versatile and he has power in the same, you know, box. One thing that I think will make him completely ascend to another level is if he gets like a push shot or a floater, a push shot like iHeart has. If he gets that, because a lot of times he'll dribble. He'll take that short dribble and he will be right in the middle, you know, in mid-range, and there'll be nobody on him. And now he's looking to pass the ball. Whereas if he had a push shot from either the angle, you know, the corner angles, it'll be a wrap. It would be a wrap. And there was a couple of times during last night's game where that was something that we saw, you know. So bacon of the game goes to our guy, Julius Randle, with 18 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists, trip dub. But there's one thing I want to end on my, you know, analysis of Julius Randle with. He had this quote at the end of the game. I think it's making its rounds, as it should. But he had a quote at the end of the game when they asked him, you know, how does he feel about IQ and RJ, you know, and coming back and, you know, them being traded, etc. You know, Julius, you could tell, and this is what I love about our team. This is what I love about Julius. And this is the difference between the Julius. This is one of the differences between Julius and a LeBron James. I know LeBron James is in another stratosphere. I'm talking about this type of moment. His response was so genuine and so off the cuff and organic and natural and not contrived. He said, you know, New York should be proud of IQ and Quick. You know, he said they raised him. You know, he didn't say it one time and look for, and this is what I love. He didn't say it one time and listen for the response. He said it and then he reiterated it or iterated again. He was just like, no, I'm serious. New York, you raised these guys and you made them what they are so that they'll be able to flourish anywhere else that they go. And that was something that I was just like, you know what? There are marked moments in people's career and during seasons. And for Julius Randle, man, Julius Randle, that was a marked moment, because the same thing could be said for him and will be said for him either at the end of his career, which I believe he's going to be, you know, he's going to be recognized more than Carmelo Anthony by the time his career is over, if he remains in New York. I think that's going to be without question. And if he remains side by side with Jalen Brunson, don't let them win a championship. It's going to be a wrap. It's going to be a wrap. But that type of thing is going to be said in his jersey hanging ceremony, where it's just like New York raised him. They made him a man. He, you know, was birthed in LA as, you know, when it comes to him getting drafted to the Lakers. But New York is what made him into the player he is. He had to be forged in the fire, in the spotlight. So that quote that he said, you know, was powerful. And it should be, it's one of his better, it's one of his best moments. And it speaks to him as a leader, you know. So shout out Julius Randle, bacon of the game. So round of applause for our guy, Julius Randle. Next up, who's the egg of the game? The egg of the game, obviously, is the other half of the Bully Boys, the other half of the dynamic duo. You know, our all-world player, our superstar, New York Knicks' first superstar since Patrick Ewing. Round of applause for the egg of the game, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson once again showed out. 38 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists in his third game back from injury. This man is problematic. You know, I absolutely love it. It is so rare for us to have this type of player on our side, this type of player on our team, okay? Even with Patrick Ewing, Patrick was a big man, you know, so he wasn't doing it from the guard position. You know, he was coming in, lunch pail mentality, getting to work, going to bang with you and 3, get the jump shot. You know, everything was like he worked hard for everything he got. And the same thing applies to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is kind of like a center at the point guard position, in that he's not uber athletic. You know, he ain't going to dunk on you. He has to work hard to get everything that he has, but he has the footwork of a center. He has the guile of a point guard, you know, so and scoring ability of a premier 2 guard, all in one. And that's what makes a superstar, when you have something that can easily be replicated. Jalen Brunson cannot easily be replicated in this league. Point to me to another player in this league who has the skill set of a Jalen Brunson. You know, Kyrie is the only one, I said this before, Kyrie is the only one who has the footwork to match Jalen Brunson's footwork at the point guard position. And it's a beautiful thing to see it in a Knicks jersey. And he came out strong. Jalen Brunson knows the magnitude of moments. He knows the magnitude of moments, and he knew that this would be a big moment, and that, you know, there was a lot of players that are on the team and coaches and all of them who are invested in the emotion of the game and the emotion of those players. So he knew he had to come out and set the tone. He had to come out with a strong start, and he did. And I think Randle followed his lead in that. And ultimately throughout the game, you know, I mean, when he came out firing on all cylinders, 3-pointers, barrage. He was feeling it early, and he made sure people knew it. And that's the piece that I kind of loved. What he started doing, and this is very rare, point to me to a game, especially a game at the Garden, where you saw Jalen Brunson so visibly being verbal, you know, in his trash talk and his engagement with the crowd. He was letting them know that, listen, this is who we are. This ain't no fluke. We about this life. But more importantly, he wasn't doing it for the crowd. He was doing it for them young boys. He was doing it for IQ. He was doing it for RJ. He was just like, I know this is a big moment for you, but this is our house now. Okay? You helped build this, but this is my house right now. And I'm marking my territory. Jalen Brunson, not only is he a dog, but he was a dog walking around the garden marking his territory. He was taking a piss over here. He was taking a piss over there. He was pissing all over the place, because he wanted all the other former dogs to know This is where I live. This is my turf right here, you know? And he was doing it after big shots. You can see it'll be a shot on RJ Barrett. He's throwing up the sign. You know what I mean? He's speaking to the crowd. He's talking his talk. He's shaking his dreads. And something that I like to point out to everybody, no one is having big moments anymore in the Garden. And I don't think this is talked about enough. You remember when they used to bottle flip? When every NBA player used to point at Madison Square Garden and saying they're circling on the calendar because they want to have a big night. You remember that interview with Paul George and Julius. And he with a straight face, looked in Julius's face as if Julius wasn't one of the stars of the team. And he says, how does it feel knowing that stars can come into the Garden and on any given night have a big night? Yo, that's a complete slap in the face as if we don't play defense. You know what I mean? And that shows where Paul George saw Julius. And to Julius's credit, Julius looked right back at that man. He was just like, the same way it feels like we could drop 30 on anybody on any given night who comes in there. We don't think of it that way. Like, what are you talking about? And that also was another piece of the growth of Julius. I was just like, okay, Julius is in another space. He no longer has that loser mentality. He is completely immersed in the fact that we are a team that is a good organization, that's a good team. And that and what his response was true to form. And on Jalen Brunson's watch, nobody's coming in and is going to outshine him. He's not even going to give them the opportunity. When you come into the Garden, you getting buckets. When you come into the Garden, you getting these buckets, and we shutting you down. And I'm the head of the snake when you come in here. Know that when you come into the Garden, there ain't no easy wins. We love you and all that, but you about to get this work now. We about to show you what's taking place in practice all these years. You was getting work in practice, now you're gonna get work on a bigger stage. And I love that. I love that. Jalen Brunson was unstoppable last night, and he was reminding the Raptors, he was reminding the crowd that he was. He knew it, he let everybody else know it. And what I absolutely love is that the New York Knicks fan base broke out in the MVP chants for our guy Jalen Brunson, especially in the third quarter. And now this has become a legitimate conversation. NBA world, NBA voters, start looking at New York. Because when you have the conversation about what makes an MVP candidate, he needs to be in that conversation. I think Carmelo has gotten as high as 6. You know, Patrick Ewing, a couple of years, regularly was in there as high as 6 or even 4 in the MVP votes. Jalen Brunson is entered the chat. Jalen Brunson has entered the chat. Put that man's name in that conversation now for MVP consideration and keep it there, because he plans on staying there. RJ Barrett and IQ were fired up for this game. But Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle were on the grill. And what was on the menu? The special of the day here at Knicks Deli, a barbecue chicken. Egg of the game, Jalen Brunson. Round of applause for that man. Next up, who is the last component of the bacon, egg, and cheese? Who brings the cheese of the game? And the cheese of the game goes to the New York Knicks bench. Round of applause for the New York Knicks bench. Let's show them some love today. Now, that's a unique choice. I'm going to give it to the bench for the New York Knicks because they've really been under a lot of heat, a lot of pressure, a lot of criticism since the trade that sent our boys over to Toronto, and we got back 3 players in Malachi Flynn, Precious Achiuwa, as well as OG Anunoby. So the bench stepped up in this game. Not very early on, maybe in about the third quarter. I think he played about 26 minutes. Ihart played about 26 minutes, had an ankle injury, hoping that he's healed up, that it's not serious. But Precious Achiuwa had to kind of step in. Now, he had a phenomenal game. Let me start out with that. So he was really battling once iHeart went down. And once again, this is the value of practice and having a good big man core. I think we have a great big man core. We have Mitch, we have iHeart, we have Jericho. Now we got Precious Achiuwa, you know? So I think it's a great depth to our center core, and they battle. You know, they're battling each other constantly in practice, and that's how you get better. When you have chippiness, when you have battles in practice, when people are really trying to position and be the best that they can be, they bring out the best in others, okay? But Precious showed up last night. When iHeart went down, he stepped in and he kept the same level of intensity that iHeart would bring, that same level of energy. He was battling. He was battling it for every rebound. He was battling for every putback, offensive, defensive, blocks. And it was great to see. Precious finished the game with 18 points and 11 rebounds. You know, just outstanding. Outstanding to watch. You were happy for him. He helped set the tone with his activity and his defense as well. But overall, the bench helped set the tone with their defense and activity. You had Quentin and Deuce and Achiuwa combined together to really help spur us to this victory. The bench outscored the Toronto's bench 38-37, all right? So, listen, our bench came to play. Our bench came to play. Precious Achiuwa led the way on that effort, and it helped us secure this victory, and it helped them secure the cheese of the bacon, egg, and cheese here in Knicks Deli. Round of applause for all three of the awardees of the bacon, egg, and cheese here in Knicks Deli. Shout out to all of them, helping us get a crucial victory. So round of applause for those guys. Next up on the menu is the dollar slice. So who is the dollar slice of the game? The dollar slice goes to corner 3 OG Anunoby. Round of applause for corner 3 OG. Listen, man, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It is what it is. OG is a unique player, and I'm glad that Clyde repeated it last night. OG is our low-key Kawhi Leonard. He has that potential. Mid-range game, three-point, shot. He has the same type of personality. That was his big bro. That's his OG. He came up behind under Kawhi on that championship team. He got a ring to show for it. Listen, OG is a unique player, okay? Look, it's starting to get ridiculous now, this plus-minus stat. So he is plus 190 in 11 games as a Knick, all right? Plus-minus 20 for this game. OG had 14 points, 4 block shots, and 7 rebounds. Come on, man. We are 100% satisfied with OG and where he's going to stand of what we do over the next 5 years. But something that really solidified that last night, the man dove into the crowd. Come on, man. He had his Charles Oakley moment, dove into the crowd. One of the first times I kind of seen that and pursuing the ball. I know, iHeart has done it a couple of times. That was his anointing. On a stage like that, with the buzz, and for him to, dive into like the third row of the crowd, round of applause for our guy, the dollar slice, OG Anunoby. For the chopped cheese. The chopped cheese of the game is Precious Achiuwa. Round of applause for the chopped cheese of the game, Precious Achiuwa. Now, Precious was really battling in the absence of iHeart. Like I said, he had 18 points, 11 rebounds. Once again, Hartenstein hurt his ankle in the third, and this is something for us to keep an eye on. Hopefully, we can give him a few days to heal. I know some people was just like, Precious Achiuwa, this is what he could bring. Listen, I'm super excited about his output and his production in this game. But if you listen to Toronto fans and you listen to all those fans who have podcasts who talk about Precious Achiuwa, everybody sees the potential in him. But their frustrations with him are very similar to our frustrations with RJ. He is super inconsistent. They said he will give you a game like tonight, and then he'll throw up a couple of 3 points, 1 rebound game, and 18 minutes another night. So we're going to enjoy his output and his fire and his desire from last night, and hope that continues. But a lot of Raptors fans have talked about just the frustration piece and him being inconsistent in his output historically. So we want to keep an eye on that as well. But we're talking about last night. We ain't talking about historically, and we're only talking about last night. And last night, Precious stepped up. He stepped in and gave a perfect amount of effort and intensity last night. And you know, he had that former team, I want to show you what you could have had, that little burst, that same little burst that Emmanuel and RJ had as well. You know, he had that for his team. But also, Tibbs mentioned that they'll know more about Hartenstein to come in days to come. But he also pointed out that Jericho is ready. And this is what I'm talking about when I say our center room is strong. And I believe Jericho's ready. Come on, man. Jericho knows he was born in Tom Thibodeau's system. You know, so let's not sleep on our young guy. I'm fully confident in Jericho that he'll figure it out, and that the skills and the strengths that he brings to the table, we can find a way to leverage that to get more wins as well. But once again, the center depth is strong, and shout out to Precious Achiuwa, the chopped cheese here in Knicks Deli. Round of applause for Precious Achiuwa. Now, who's the quarter water of the game? The quarter water of the game, who gave us that particular burst in one quarter or a little bit over a few quarters to help us get this victory. And the quarter water of the game goes to our guy, Josh Hart. Round of applause for Josh Hart. Josh Hart had 10 points, 9 rebounds, and he's strengthening it. He's securing his hat as the spark plug of the New York Knicks. Josh Hart has been getting a lot of criticism over the past, let's say, 10 games from Knicks fans. But what we didn't know until just recent is that he's been battling through injury, and that you couldn't even tell last night that he talked about having, jumper's knee and soreness because of all the games that he's been playing, whether it's from last season into international play and coming into this season with the different minutes, all of the minutes. But last night, the way he was playing, you couldn't even tell. I don't know what type of miraculous treatment he got last night, but it worked. The man looked fast. He looked spry. He played with reckless abandon. And all of that was necessary for us to pull out this victory against our young bros, okay? I love the fact that he mixes it up, and he was hitting timely threes. And I think that type of confidence and ability to just kind of play with reckless abandon is what makes him special. This type of play is what's needed on championship teams, on high-level playoff teams. And I love that about having him on the squad. I'm not looking at how much he makes. I'm looking at the production and the value he brings, which doesn't always reflect in the stat sheet. Round of applause for our guy, the quarter water of the game. Spark plug, Josh Hart. Now, the glizzy of the game was a little bit unique, right? So I think I was more locked in and focused on the hoopla and I guess our family issues, all right? As opposed to looking for somebody who may have said something sideways to give them the glizzy of the game. But it just harkens back to the 38 points that Jalen Brunson was able to produce and drop. This is like his third straight game with 30, coming off of an injury. And it just made me think back to the Becky Hammond's comment about him being, oh, he too little. Oh, he too little. He can't be the best player on a blah, blah, blah. Only person that can do that is a Steph, you know, or Gilbert Arenas. The New York Knicks will never be, and I'm not sure if I'm misrepresenting who said this. So correct me if I am, KD community, if this is the wrong person who said it. Whether it's Gilbert Arenas or somebody said that anytime they play, it was Kenny Smith. I'm sorry, Kenny Smith, not Gilbert Arenas. It was Kenny Smith. The New York Knicks will never have the best player on the floor. Kenny Smith was an average-ass player saying that. So Jalen Brunson, you know, is proving all of them wrong. So the glizzy of the game will go to the Becky Hammonds of the world, the Kenny Smiths of the world. Hell, we're going to throw Gilbert Arenas' ass in there. The Gilbert Arenas of the world. You guys, hold that thing up. Use 2 hands and enjoy the glizzy of the game. As we tie this thing up, we're going to talk about who gets the nah, son, nah, you wildin' moment of the game. And how is that different from the glizzy of the game, shit? When a nah son nah moment of the game is if somebody says something, it makes you look at the camera sideways and say, nah son nah. You wildin', all right? And that's a little bit more in an affectionate way. Just kind of elbow and be like, yo son, you wildin', okay? So the nah son nah moment of the game goes to Uncle Clyde. Uncle Clyde. Nah son nah, you wildin'. Uncle Clyde's commentary. First and foremost, welcome back, OG. Welcome back. We had missed you at the early part of the season. We love the fact that you were back with us and rearing to go, and you are putting forth a masterclass in your color commentary. And last night was no different because Grady Dick was on the other side and he was putting up masterful quotes about Grady Dick last night. And I knew I wasn't the only one because Knicks Twitter was going crazy, all right? It was so many things that he was saying that had me dead. I don't know. Look, I was just like, he said something about, Grady Dick, put forth the D on that play. And I was just like, hey, yo, Uncle Clyde, hey, yo, So, and he was unhinged, like uninhibited. And I love that because it was genuine. Uncle Clyde is doing his job. He's a Hall of Famer as a player and as an announcer. And it was just great for TV. It was great for TV. But Uncle Clyde, I'm sorry, my brother, but you wildin', okay? So that's who gets the nah son nah, you wildin' moment of the game. And that is it for Knicks Daily. My parting thoughts are this. I love the fact that it was a good challenge in the first half, okay? Everything was a little bit choppy. The game was close. They were inspired. It was like 57-58 at the halftime. And I love what Alan Hahn said at the end of the game. He said, all right, it was almost like parents with the kids. And the kids are coming in and, you play rough with them and you let them win a little bit. You let them get a couple of shots. You fall down when they throw a punch or whatever have you, and you let them, get in the game. He said, but when the second half hit, is when you tell them, all right, it's time to go to bed. It's time to start getting ready for bed. And they still want to play. And you kind of got to strengthen that grip a little bit. But hey, I said it's get ready for bed. Stop playing with me. And they look at you and they know you're serious, And that's what happened last night. It was good to see, but in the first half, there was so many turnovers. It was a sloppy game. But I think all of that kind of came from the hoopla and the emotions that were tied in and on both sides of the teams. But by the second half, adjustments were made, Grandpa Tibbs, he was just like, all right, we need to kind of move this piece over here and move this over here and do this. And then the big bros and the parents was just like, all right, y'all, it's time to put y'all to bed. Y'all done got showered. You got your PJs on. Time to go night-night. And we made them mother flippers go night-night, okay? Love the extra buzz, love the playoff excitement. I love the fact that New York is now the Mecca again. The media tried to plant the emotional seed for both of those players, so they did their part to try to take the players out of the game and get them committed emotionally. And it was just good. It was good for TV last night. It was a good victory. And the New York Knicks really, really established themselves as, a home team this season and a mature team who can battle through a lot of the outside talk, really lock in as a team and push through even if adversity pops up, such as injury or trades or anything other than that, okay? What I will say, class personified by the New York Knicks organization with the fans, the ovation was outstanding. When IQ got his ovation, you could see he was trying to breathe. My heart was going out to my little bro. I was just like, damn, bro. We all wanted to give him a collective hug. He was just like, trying to get through it. If you watch that clip, when they announce him in the lineup, he takes a deep breath, he gets up, and he daps RJ. Look at RJ. RJ is kind of looking at him like, I hope you're okay, bro. Like, keep it together. It's real fleeting. But when he gets up and he daps up RJ, look at RJ's face. He's looking at him just to check in and make sure he's okay. And I love that, man. Like those are brothers. So that is one piece that I really liked. And then when they announced RJ, you not only heard the huge ovation that IQ got, but it went up an octave for RJ. And I loved that as well, man. All of you Knicks fans, our Knicks family who was in the building, Knicks Nation, you know, congratulations to you, because you really did your thing last night. Okay. I also think the New York Knicks organization, with the surprise video at the first time out, they also showed out by doing that. And you could see RJ was kind of trying to peek up, but he was also trying to pay attention to what the coach was saying. But IQ closed his eyes and he started praying. And I knew he was trying to pray to kind of block out. I know he said to himself, I'll watch this after the game. I'll go back and I'll see what they showed. But I can't do this right now. It's going to break me down, and I'm not going to be locked in and focused. So he really tried to center himself during that. I just think it was class what we did. We really afforded them and showed them the proper respect and veneration that we should. And, you know, it was just good. It was great for TV last night. It was great for Knicks fans and the Knicks fan base all the way around. It was a dominant exhibition of rebounding last night. I don't want to leave that out. We had 30 rebounds. There was a 30 rebound differential last night between us and the Toronto Raptors. It was a massacre. And the defensive efforts, you know, were outstanding as well. Ball movement began to settle in. Turnover bug went away, and we locked up this victory. So thank you guys. I wanted to keep this kind of short, but 47 minutes. Thank you. Like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know anytime I'm doing videos here at Knicks Deli. We have barbecue chicken. It's the special on the menu. And guess what? Whether you're in the real world or you're out here in these YouTube streets, here in Knicks Deli, everybody eats. I'm your boy Shia, and I'm out. Peace.